Newcastle United are, in my opinion, very much ahead of schedule. I thought it would be quite a few years before we started seeing them challenge for the top four. I say quite a few. I thought maybe 2-3 seasons we'd start seeing them getting into that top four. Another 2-3 seasons of investment because of the way that financial fair play is, unless your name's Todd Bowley and you know every loophole in the book. I thought that it would be a while before we really saw them competing. But I think you'd be a brave man to go against Newcastle finishing outside of the top four even next season now. I think they're nailed on for top four this season, to be honest. I think Liverpool are making a late push, but it is a little bit too late in that push. And as much as Liverpool are hitting a little bit of form, it's been very Liverpool this season to hit a bit of form, put 6 goals past someone, win their next match, and then go and get tanked in the following match. So there's too much inconsistency there. I don't know what order. I think the top four is the top four to stay now. But whether Newcastle United finish third or fourth, they're going to be playing Champions League football next season. That opens a hell of a lot of doors of opportunity that they may not have had if they had have only finished in, let's say, a Europa League spot. Bearing in mind, now we feel as if we know that Newcastle will be playing Champions League football next season. How do they approach next season when it comes to transfers? Do they heavily invest? We know they've got bottomless pockets when it comes to the money that they can throw at players, and they could sign superstar names. Or do they carry on ticking over with the formula that's worked for them this season? Because we all know that it will get more and more competitive next season.
Personally, I would be loath to disrupt that team because I just think it's got better and better. Again, they've all bought into Eddie Howe's management. Candidate for Manager of the Year. I look at Callum Wilson. I look at Isak. Can the two play together? That fascinates me for next season. So in terms of striking options, absolutely spot on for me. I look at the arrival of Trippier and the experience, and I don't see an obvious weakness in that Newcastle side. So it's all very well splashing out huge money on players that can come in and sometimes be a disruptive influence.
Yeah.
From a personal point of view, I build on what they've achieved, and I build steadily, and I continue with the transfer policy that has been implemented and has worked for them. The players that Howe have brought in general, have worked for them. They've moved on to another level. They're going to be involved in Champions League football. As I said about Arteta, they have a togetherness, Newcastle. So do I want to bring in a load of new players? No.
They've also got that 12th man, which is the St James's Park crowd.
Extraordinary crowd. So you've built something very special. Sometimes when you bring in a load of big-name players, you're in danger of disrupting that.
So do you think that team there can compete when it comes to the Champions League competition
I'm
itself?
saying they should add to it, but I'm saying that they don't go out and just spend huge amounts of money.
They don't sign Neymar.
Like Chelsea have done. It's a perfect example
of
going out there and thinking we will just spend big. And it doesn't guarantee you anything, as we found out at Stamford Bridge.
No.
At Newcastle, they've bought well. They've invested in the right players who have bought into Eddie Howe and what he wants to do, and it's worked. It's unthinkable months ago that Newcastle will be playing Champions League football next season. They look like they're going to achieve that. Do I want to threaten that? No, I don't. I want to keep that squad intact in general, and I want to add to it where I think is necessary, but I'm not going to go out and spend huge sums of money. I think there's a danger in doing that.
I mean, when I looked at the signing of Bruno Guimaraes, I didn't really know him. I had seen little clips of him on YouTube because he had been rumoured with Chelsea. He had been rumoured with Manchester City. Didn't really know him. And Newcastle hadn't spent big in today's market on anyone. And I'm pretty sure they spent 40 million on him. And I remember thinking, you know, you want to hope he's good. What's he worth now? What's he worth? If Real Madrid or someone came in for him now, Man City came in for him, he's worth double that. The only one you could say is maybe Anthony Gordon. Anthony Gordon, they spent 40 odd million on, and he's
still settling in, isn't he?
Yeah.
Coming off the bench, you know that he's a talent. At the moment, you expect a lot more. But it's not just the players that he has bought, How. I look at the way he's improved players. I remember that spell that Almiron went through, Joe.
Yeah.
He could hardly miss a goal, could he?
No.
It was like he was scoring every game, and you're thinking, I remember Miguel Almiron. This is a completely different player.
Yeah.
Playing with confidence.
Shaw.
Yes. Fabian Shah, Joe Linton.
Yeah.
Again, people are saying to me, is there a better player in his position at the moment? So players that Howe has had, he has improved immeasurably. Their transfer policy has been spot on. They've got the crowd behind them. They have a manager who's a candidate to be manager of the year. Everything is pointing in the right direction. So that Champions League football and that prize that's almost there for them, do I want to disrupt that by getting rid of the players that have achieved that success and spending big? No, I think they'll continue to invest wisely where they need to strengthen that squad. But they've got so much going on the right way for Newcastle at the moment.
When it was a two-man shortlist for the Newcastle job, after obviously they got rid of Steve Bruce, do you remember who the two men were? Eddie Howe being one of them.
What?
Unai Emery.
Unai Emery.
And
Yes.
that even there, you look at Unai... Now listen, it wasn't a secret that Unai Emery was a very talented coach, but you look at what he's gone on to do at Aston Villa, and it shows you that the thinking at the club, it's not just Eddie Howe, the thinking at the club from above, they're all singing off the same hymn sheet, because those were they were two top managers that they were down to the shortlist for. And I at the time perceived, Eddie Howe, like, not that I was looking down on Eddie Howe, but I thought, Unai Emery's the more proven. Eddie Howe's been ridiculously good. Really, really good. Newcastle fans, I would be very interested for your take on this. Who do you think you should sign next season? You will obviously need to add a little bit of squad depth if you are going to be in the Champions League football. Or would you agree with Tony Lockwood over here that you don't want to heavily invest too much, just add a bit of depth and keep ticking over nicely? Let me know in the comments below.